Joe's had something to drink, something to eat. Vinny's always eating, so he's fine. The question I posed to Joe on that last out was, does Joe Hildebrand have a political agenda, and what party? Maybe the Orange team. Joey?
Look, it may surprise you to learn, my friend, that I probably won't be joining One Nation. I'm not a member of any political party. My politics are pretty much, Labor right.
Yep.
So if you look at someone like Peter Malinauskas or Chris Minns,
Yes.
they're people I think have really got it right. And going back to what you were saying before, they're people who are straight talkers
Yes.
as well. They're not people who talk in sound bites or carefully scripted, lines from focus group meetings.
So have you and Mr. Minns had a chat? Is there a hole coming up?
Me and Mr. Minns get along very, very well indeed. But again, he's...
I tell you, I'd like to see you.
He's a great
in the Labor Party.
If you got someone like Chris Minns, I mean, he's almost as handsome as I am. He's
Almost.
he's very, very smart. He's got all the right. He's like, as long as he's doing what he's doing, they don't need me.
I think Chris is a great leader.
Yes.
I think a lot of the people around him, some of his ministers are big duds, and will always continue to be duds, especially when they, one of the biggest things going around at the moment, grorts, are the monies that they claim for travelling and food and accommodation. And you hear people like Albo saying, but it's all within the rules. You know what? If the rules are wrong or immoral, your obligation is to change them.
Yeah.
But they don't do that, do they?
No,
because they need to continue to...
There's a bit of amnesia. So someone, yeah, that's right. So they do it and they get away with it. I think all of us kind of, if you can get out of paying for something or can, charge it to work or whatever, there's always that temptation, and you should always resist it. You've got to imagine, every time you put in an expense form, just think, what will this look like on the front page of the Daily Telegraph?
What does that show you as far as the integrity of these politicians is concerned?
Well, that's
zero.
That's right. But not everyone does it. But
not everyone does. But the ones who do shouldn't be there, should they?
They learn their lesson pretty quickly.
Oh, did they? They do their best to try not to get caught again.
Well, the minister who did it famously in the Minns government got her portfolio removed.
Yes.
Wow. She should have been removed altogether.
There's another one. But yeah, I think, like politicians rorting stuff is a tale as old as time. It's amazing that they don't learn from it, I have to say, given that the telly puts it on the front page pretty much as regular as clockwork. But yeah, I think, it's not something that I think you'd catch Chris Minns himself doing. I think as long as there are people like that showing how it's done, showing that you don't listen to all the crazy woke left brigade, you don't listen to the activist left,
All I'm saying is you are in such a powerful position as a politician. No, not you. I'm
not
saying
me.
Politicians in general, right? They are, when they're in government, they are in a powerful position of influence, being able to get things done and so forth. When they start abusing those positions, do they deserve to be where they are? They don't. They don't deserve to be where they are. They need to be removed, because how can you trust them? How do you trust someone like Albo, who tells you one thing to get himself elected, and then during the process of running a government breaks every single promise?
Yeah, well, that's going to be an interesting one. That's going to be whether or not, I obviously have pretty deep misgivings about what the impact of this budget is going to be, and whether there will just be a complete breach of trust to the point where the government can say what it wants in the future and no one will believe it. So we've said that about stage 3 tax cuts. Everyone liked that because everyone got more money. So I think people don't mind breaking a promise if it means they get more money. But in the fallout we've seen so far from this budget, most people think that they'll be worse off. Many more people think they'll be worse off and think they'll be better off. So it's not like 51 worse off, 49 better off. It's like 50s plus worse off, and just 10-15% maybe think that there might be something in it for them, and the rest kind of in the middle. So I'm very worried about that. The government seems to think that by the time the next election rolls around or whatever, people will realise it's actually not that bad. maybe cost of living will have eased, maybe house prices. There's some talk that house prices are already coming down in Sydney in particular. So I don't know. It's not something I would have done, and I don't like politicians breaking promises any more than anyone else.
Well, I've always been very suspicious of politicians, and one of the most suspicious things I find about politicians in general, Tony, is the way that they're investigated. Now, you look at ICAC. Why do politicians have to have a separate entity to the police to be investigated? No. Let me ask. What makes a politician so mighty that they have to have their own police force to investigate them?
Well, it's not that they're mighty. It's that the reason why ICAC was needed was because politicians were seen to be operating above the law, and of course, if you're in government, you run the police.
Yeah.
So having the police investigate someone like a police minister, for example, is
well, they got rid of the independence of the police commissioner, because up until the Police Regulations Act in '94, the police commissioner had no direct attachment to government.
Right.
After 1994, when they brought in the Police Regulations Act, that's when the commissioner became part and party of the political process.
But that was after the Wood Royal Commission and all
which
corruption.
But do you know about the other Royal Commission in the Age tape, where the police went out and they bugged all their phones and you know about all that?
That was before my time. I only looked up in
and there were all politicians involved and criminals involved in this net of crap.
But basically, ICAC was established to be completely separate from the government, and so I was able to investigate corruption in the government. The complaint among politicians is that ICAC is too powerful and it's claiming too many scalps.
Can I ask you this then? If it's so powerful, why do the findings of the Royal Commission have to go straight to the DPP, which is again run by government?
But it's a statutory body that's separate from government. So it's run. Everything's run by the government. Like everything's the government. It's not a private company.
No, it's not a private company. But all I'm saying is, if you wanted ICAC,
the DPP doesn't do what the government tells.
If you wanted the ICAC to be totally independent, they'd have their own prosecution team, right? They'd be able to prosecute the investigate someone.
I think it's a pretty fundamental rule of the Westminster system that you have only one person can prosecute. That's the Crown Prosecutor. You can't have everyone say, "Oh, I'm going to prosecute this" or "I'm going to prosecute that." Everything has to go to the DPP. Just like the cops have to give everything to the DPP. If you want to charge someone with a criminal offence in court, there's only one person who can do that. And it's the DPP.
With the cops, the old summary offences, all the minor crimes are always prosecuted by the police prosecution branch, right?
Yeah.
The serious stuff that later on
goes up to the DPP,
went up to but that was much later. That was during the mid 80s that happened. The DPP took over all the serious stuff. But in any case, all I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you've got an Attorney General who's in charge of the DPP, and any matters that come from ICAC to the DPP, which are basically involving politicians.
Yeah.
The scrutiny there. They just had a matter recently where they failed to launch any proceedings against an offender, OB, who had been convicted of corruption in the past. They had a $30 million inquiry or something that he was involved, and they canned it.
Yeah, so there's a difference between, this is where it does get a bit weird, there's a difference between ICAC making a finding of corrupt conduct and a criminal offence under the Crimes Act, or being able to be proven
beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's why an ICAC will make a report and say, yes, we've found that there was corrupt conduct or reasonable grounds to believe there's corrupt conduct or whatever. And then it has to refer it to the DPP to see if they can prosecute it for an actual crime that could lead to actual jail time. Now, in some cases that has happened, and we've seen politicians being sent behind bars for that and other kinds of offences, and you can think of a couple. But sometimes there's a difference between what ICAC finds in its investigation, like a police investigation. So you can have a police investigation and says, right, we think this person's done this, 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 and this, but then they have to hand it over to the DPP to prosecute it.
And what the DPP does, because in a lot of cases what they do is they want the matter to go through quickly, so they'll downgrade the charges. They'll plea the case on if you are willing to accept a lower charge. Plead as a guilty case, so that they don't have to waste any more court time.
Yeah, sometimes.
And is there any justice in that?
Well, the criticism of the current DPP is the opposite. The criticism of the current DPP is that they are bringing all sorts of cases before the courts and wasting the court's time, basically. And again, I'm not saying whether that's true or not, but that's the criticism that some people are saying, that the DPP is, if you like, not cutting enough deals and is going in gung-ho and trying to prosecute every single case, including a lot of sexual assault cases. So, again...
Just a quick one, Joey, because I know you're running out of time.
Yeah.
Just a quick one, from my point of view. How do you think we're standing with our greatest ally, with America? Do you think we've done enough in offering naval support in the Hormuz? Do you think we've done? Albo keeps on saying we weren't asked, but surely as their ally we would say, do you need something? Do you think we're okay with America?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know who's okay with America. But look, I think we are.
Because
I think we're better than most.
Because we need America, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we don't have them, we're sitting down here.
Yeah, no, absolutely we do. Yeah, no, I'm a huge supporter of the US alliance. I'm a huge supporter of AUKUS and the ANZUS treaty as well. Australia is doing more than. I mean, the truth is, in terms of sheer military hardware, the US doesn't really need our help.
No.
Like they've got all the gadgets, they've got all the boats and the things that go bang. What the US usually needs from us, and in previous conflicts has always got, is kind of like moral support, if you like.
Absolutely.
And Australia was straight out of the blocks as soon as Israel and America launched their campaign. We said we supported it. Other allies did not. The UK didn't. France didn't. Germany didn't. So we were right there. We sent an aircraft over there to help with defensive operations, and provided intelligence that we got from the UAE, I think it was, to US forces. So we're all there. To be honest, I'm not sure. And again, we need to spend more on our Navy and armed forces here. But basically, we're in a pretty pale state. We don't have that many boats to spare. But sometimes it can be hard to keep up with Donald Trump. Like he says, like 1 minute he's saying, the Iranians are great. They've got reasonable people in charge now, and they're going to cut a deal. Next minute he's saying, as he is this morning, it'll probably change by the time this goes to air. But that he's going to bomb the bejesus out of them again, and that's part of Trump's, charm, part of his strength, if you like, that he's unpredictable, and so hopefully people bow to his will in this case. But look, I think it's all right. Trump can be a hard person to keep up with, but yeah, we absolutely do have to have a rock solid alliance with the US, and I think we're doing probably better than most.
And I think people sort of lose track of the fact that behind these leaders are so many other advisors and strategists and so forth who do have a lot of influence in what comes out of their mouth. Sure. It's just the way he delivers it is a bit blasé, but
that's right. Usually a president wouldn't even say anything about any alliance or relationship unless, first the staffers and defect would have talked to each other, then the secretaries of the departments would talk to each other, then the ambassadors would talk to each other, then maybe the foreign ministers would talk to each other, and then finally the president and the PM might say something. But with Trump, it's just Trump and his Truth Social, and again, it's whatever he feels like saying, and that's part of the fun.
A lot of fun, eh? And we're all paying for it.
Joey, I know you're an ex-Melbourne, and I know you followed the Bombers, or you used to follow the Bombers down there.
That's right.
Now,
difficult to follow these.
I know. Do you have a team here in Sydney?
Yeah, I got suckered in because when I came up, obviously coming from Melbourne, we don't even acknowledge that any other forms of football exist apart from AFL.
I know.
And I came up here and I thought, I'm on the sports desk, I'm doing my cadetship at AAP, and I thought, I've got to get an NRL team. I go out and drink it with the boys. I wouldn't know anything about NRL, nothing about league. I thought, how can I fix this? And it was 2000, it was the year that Souths had been kicked out of the comp.
Yes.
And so I thought, I've got a brilliant idea. I said, I'll tell people I'm a Souths fan. And every time we go to the pub and they'd say, who do you go for, Joe? I'd say, oh, Souths. And they'd go, oh, I'm sorry. No. They'd all go quiet and change the subjects, and I wouldn't have to fake my way through. Then the bastards got back in, so now I'm pumping them for life.
And lucky they did because of George Pickens.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly
right.
He's a real hero.
Yeah,
I was
I
on
agree.
that beat.
Yeah. Well, Joey, thank you, my friends,
It's been
for
a
coming.
pleasure, my friend.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Goody. Take care. You too, Chad.
Thank you, folks. Comment on Joe's comments, trollers. Connect with
Get a
us.
few more trolls.
Yeah, get some trolls.
Can't have enough.
Thank you.
So,